All right, Marine. Ready to dive into MCDP 1.3. Tactics.
Ooh, yeah. Getting into the nitty-gritty, this is the bedrock,
That
isn't it?
really is. We're going to unpack this doctrine straight from the source.
Awesome.
So right off the bat, MCDP 1.3 hits you with some pretty powerful quotes.
Yeah.
You got T.E. Lawrence of Arabia, talking about that irrational tenth of tactics.
Ah, the gut feeling.
Yeah. The stuff you can't really teach, that sets great leaders apart. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's the thing, though, right? It acknowledges that it's not something you're born with. It's honed, right, through experience, built on that solid foundation.
And that's where Teddy Roosevelt comes in.
Yeah.
Talking about that preparation. You can't cram for this test. Lives are on the line.
Exactly. You need that baseline.
Yeah. So MCDP 1-3 really lays it out. This cycle of doctrine, education, training, operational experience.
It all feeds in, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a cycle.
Continuous improvement.
So it's not just cracking open the book. You got to engage with it, put it into practice.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, let's define doctrine, right? Because it's thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
The bedrock beliefs about warfare, the guiding principles that shape how Marines think, lead, fight.
Everyone's on the same page, working toward that common goal.
Precisely. It all starts with MCDP 1, warfighting,
Right.
big picture, and then it branches out into these more specific pubs like MCDP 1.3 for practical application.
So this is where the rubber meets the road. We're taking the big picture, bringing it down to the tactical level.
Exactly.
So where does education fit in?
Well, I see education as the bridge between theory and practice. You have to have a deep understanding of what's in the doctrine, not just following orders, but informed decisions. You got to know the why.
Not just going through the motions.
Exactly. Like understanding why you bake a cake a certain way, not just the recipe.
Right, you can adapt, improvise.
Right.
If something goes wrong.
And to do that, MCDP 1-3 highlights 3 qualities that a tactical leader needs: creative ability, military judgment, and moral courage.
Okay, let's start with creative ability. That doesn't mean we're painting camouflage patterns, right?
No. This is about thinking outside the box. Tactical problems, innovative solutions.
So you're in a tough spot.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to get out of it. Using your creativity.
But it stresses experience.
Right.
You need that to temper that boldness, avoid recklessness.
So you have the tools, but you got to know which one to use.
Yeah.
You don't just grab a hammer every time.
Exactly. Then there's military judgment, assessing a situation rapidly.
Enemy,
terrain, weather, your own troops, and then making a decision clear and decisive.
it's a high-stakes game of chess.
It is. Every move matters. And in that analogy, understanding the mission, commander's intent, main effort, that's critical.
It is. So you can make those good decisions under pressure.
Absolutely.
Okay. Moral courage, big one. What does MCDP 1.3 have to say about that?
It's doing the right thing, even when it's tough, even when it's risky, even when it's unpopular. Making those tough calls.
Even if you think you might get in trouble for it.
Absolutely. But it's in the best interest of the mission and your Marines. MCDP 1-3 is clear. Inaction due to fear, that's worse
Wow.
than an error made in good faith.
It is.
You got to act. Make the best decision with the information you have at the time.
So it's not just physical bravery. This is about character.
Absolutely. And this is where training comes in. You can study it, but you got to apply it under pressure.
Right. And train to the point where it becomes instinct. Muscle memory almost.
That's training. Building that bridge. Theory and execution. Technical proficiency. Moving, shooting, communicating. And MCDP 1-3 stresses this: speed and accuracy in training.
Got it. Whether you're calculating firing data, engaging targets, logistics, it all has to be quick and it's got to be right.
Precisely.
But that balance of speed and accuracy, I imagine, that depends on what your job is, right? An infantry squad is going to be training different than a pilot or a comms guy.
Absolutely. Different skills. But the principle is the same. Train to the point where you can execute it under pressure flawlessly.
So those immediate action drills, like you don't even have to think about it.
Exactly. And that applies at the unit level too. Battle drills, SOPs, it's all designed to build that instinctive competence. MCDP 1-3 even quotes Rommel
Oh, wow. Okay.
on the need for staff work to be conducted with speed and accuracy.
So it's not just the guys on the front line. Everyone has to be operating at that high level.
Right.
And this is all very physically and mentally demanding. MCDP 1.3 really hits on that.
It is. You have to be prepared for the harsh realities of combat: fatigue, discomfort, unpredictable environment.
Yeah, you can't always control the situation.
Absolutely not. You got to be able to function when you're exhausted, hungry, under pressure. And that leads us to the methods.
Okay.
That MCDP 1.3 outlines for training. It goes beyond live fire and field problems. It emphasizes professional reading and historical study.
You're telling me cracking open those books isn't just for the classroom. This is an ongoing thing.
Oh, yeah. Learning from those who came before us, studying their successes and failures, that's how you develop your tactical thinking.
So it's like having a conversation with the ghosts of Marines past, learning from their experiences.
I like that. And it encourages you to actively engage with that material, individually and through discussions.
Share insights, debate, learn from different perspectives.
Exactly. Bouncing ideas off of each other.
Challenging those assumptions.
Yes. Growing as a Marine and a leader. And it's not just reading, it's connecting that theory to reality. Terrain walks.
Yeah. You actually got to get out there and see it.
Experience it firsthand, understanding how terrain, vegetation, weather, they impact operations.
It's not the same as reading about a forest and walking through it.
Exactly. And then there's wargaming,
Okay.
simulations, scenarios, to explore decision-making, but in a controlled environment.
So it's like a high-stakes video game, but with more on the line.
You could say that. Understanding the complexities of warfare and developing that judgment under pressure?
And then there's competition. MCDP 1 to 3 talks about free play, force on force. Sounds intense.
It is. Because you're adding realism. And that unpredictability you don't get from a scripted exercise.
You're testing your skills against someone who's thinking, trying to outmaneuver you.
Exactly.
That's got to build confidence.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, critiques. After-action reviews, what went right, what went wrong, how do we get better? This is where it gets a little uncomfortable, maybe.
It can. But MCDP 1 to 3 stresses constructive, not punitive. Understand the reasoning behind decisions, not just passing judgment.
Okay, so we're learning from our mistakes, not getting chewed out for them.
Exactly. A learning environment where you can develop your tactical thinking without fear.
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds like MCDP 1.3 is trying to create a culture of constant learning, always getting better.
It is. Developing Marines who are not just technically proficient, but adaptable, thoughtful, and capable in those complex environments.
Well, that's a lot to take in. We've only scratched the surface of the MCDP 1 to 3. But this document, I mean, this is a goldmine of tactical wisdom.
It is. It's like a roadmap for success on the battlefield. But it takes effort, engagement, willingness to learn, to adapt.
You got it. MCDP 1.3 is a call to action.
Yeah.
For every Marine, embrace the principles of maneuver warfare. Develop your thinking. Strive for excellence in the art of war.
Okay, so we're really digging into MCDP 1.3 here. One thing that stood out to me, this isn't just a set of rules to follow.
You're right. It's not a cookbook, no set recipes. It's more about, giving you the tools, the ingredients, and letting you make your own solutions based on what you're facing.
So like understanding music theory, but then you can improvise.
Yeah, you got it. You understand the principles. You apply them with, creativity and judgment.
Two Marines could read the same thing and come up with totally different plans.
Absolutely, depending on the situation. And both could be right.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about being adaptable, innovative,
right.
not just stuck in one way of doing things.
Right. The real test is being able to adapt, overcome those unexpected challenges. Right, because on the battlefield, things never go according to plan.
Never. And that's why all that training is so important. Developing that mental agility, making decisions, so you can apply these principles anywhere.
It's not just what to do, it's why. And being able to adjust on the fly.
Exactly. MCDP 1.3, it's a guidebook, not a rule book.
Right, okay. I get it. So are there any, key concepts, though? Recurring themes? Things we should be paying extra attention to?
Oh, for sure. One of the biggest is understanding the enemy.
I mean, seems kind of obvious, right? Got to know who you're fighting.
Yeah, but it goes deeper than that. It's not just their equipment or how many guys they got. It's their doctrine, their tactics, their mindset.
Yeah.
Getting in their heads.
So, you're building a psychological profile.
Yeah, you're trying to anticipate their moves, find their weaknesses, exploit them.
The more you know about them, the better you can beat them.
Absolutely. And that ties into another key concept, seizing the initiative.
Okay.
Be proactive. Dictate the terms of the engagement. Make them react to you.
So, being aggressive, but smart about it.
Yes. Using what you know about them, about the situation, to get that advantage.
Calculated risks.
Yeah.
Exploiting opportunities. But isn't that risky? I mean, you can't predict everything.
Of course there's risk. But doing nothing, that's the bigger risk.
Because they'll take the initiative.
Exactly. And put you on the defensive.
So, the best defense is a good offense. Kinda.
As long as it's based on sound judgment, understanding the situation, willingness to adapt.
Which takes us back to those leadership qualities. Creative ability, military judgment, moral courage. You need it all to seize the initiative.
You got it. And that brings us to combined arms.
Ooh, this is a good one. I've always found this fascinating. It's like taking all the different pieces, infantry, artillery, armor, air power, bringing it all together.
Yeah, like a football team, right? You got all these specialists, but the coach brings them together,
Yeah.
coordinates their efforts. That's synergy. That's combined arms.
And the Marine commander is the coach, I guess.
Exactly. Understanding the strengths, the limits of each element, and using them together. Overwhelm the enemy.
Okay, so this is all about working together.
It is. Teamwork. And speaking of teamwork, let's talk about maneuver warfare.
Okay, I hear that term a lot, but not sure I fully get it. What does it mean, like, in terms of MCDP 1.3?
Maneuver warfare. It's about using movement, positioning, tempo to gain an advantage. Being agile, adaptable,
Yeah.
exploiting weaknesses, dictating the fight.
So it's not just about, like, brute strength,
No, it's more about outsmarting them, using your brain as much as your brawn.
like chess.
Exactly. MCDP 1.3 says maneuver warfare, it's about exploiting gaps, disrupting their plans, creating opportunities to hit them where it hurts.
It's a much more fluid way of fighting, isn't it? Things are always changing. Got to adapt fast.
You got it. Requires flexibility, adaptability. You can't predict everything, so you got to adjust. On the fly.
So that irrational 10th comes in again. That gut feeling you can't really teach.
Exactly. Maneuver warfare is an art and a science, understanding the tactics, but also thinking creatively, making decisions under pressure, adapting to the unexpected.
And that's where the training and education come in. You need both.
Absolutely. It takes dedication, study, practice, reflection to really master this way of fighting. And even then, the learning never stops.
It's a journey, not a destination.
You got it. Warfare's always changing. Got to be a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
Seek out new knowledge, challenge your own assumptions, push those boundaries of tactical thinking.
That's inspiring. MCDP 1.3, it's not just a boring manual.
It's a call to action.
It really is, for every Marine. Embrace maneuver warfare. Strive for excellence in the art of war.
Exactly.
Back for the final stretch of our MCDP 1.3 deep dive. We've covered a lot.
We have, from understanding the enemy to that maneuver warfare.
And one of the biggest takeaways for me is that MCDP 1.3 really highlights the human element.
Yeah.
It's not all just about tech and firepower.
No. Leadership, morale, decision-making under pressure, big time.
They even talk about being prepared for the really hard stuff. Fatigue, the discomfort, even fear. Stuff you can't replicate in training.
Right. It's about being resilient, mentally, emotionally. Not just surviving, but thriving in those conditions, knowing you can count on the Marines next to you.
And that's where the training comes in.
Yeah.
It's not just learning the moves, it's forging those Marines, the ones who can handle anything.
Building strong teams, trust, being able to operate under that crazy stress.
Because it's a team sport. You can't win this alone. Everyone's got to work together, rely on each other.
It is. And MCDP 1.3 emphasizes that. Teamwork at every level.
Knowing your role, communicating,
Yeah.
putting the mission first.
Yeah. And that's where leadership comes in,
Yeah.
big time.
MCDP 1.3, it really lays out what makes an effective leader.
Okay.
It's inspiring your Marines,
Yeah.
building that confidence, guiding them to victory.
Not just barking orders, it's setting the example, motivating, making sure they're trained and ready.
Officers eat last, putting your Marines first, leading from the front, earning that respect.
Great analogy. And that's what sets the Marine Corps apart. That selfless leadership. It's built in, part of the DNA.
All right, Marine. That wraps up our deep dive into MCDP 1.3. Hope you walked away with a solid understanding. This is a vital publication.
Remember, it's not just tactics and techniques. It's a way of thinking about war, developing those leadership skills you need.
Tactical mastery, constant learning, critical thinking, applying all this in training, and reflecting on your experiences. It all comes together.
Think about the challenges your unit faces. What are the specific things your role demands? How does MCDP 1-3 help you overcome those, lead your Marines to success? That's the key.
Keep studying, keep training, keep pushing yourself to be that best leader you can be. Semper Fi, Marine. Thanks for joining us.